Yo, what up, Street Dogs? Eric Kim. All right, the turbo thought of the day. So, the quick thought is, don't think about necessarily what's quote quote best, but just think about what's least cumbersome, which is least kind of gets in your way for the desired outcome. So, for example, let us say photography is your goal. How can you approach photography or doing creative things which is least cumbersome and which least gets in your way? So for example, the reason why I love the Ricoh GR3 so much and P program mode is that you just kind of set it and forget it, and using autofocus, auto ISO, and there's this great Udemy course called Automate the Boring Stuff. I forget who wrote it, but yeah, I think it's the desired outcome we want to do is create and produce photos and images, not to fiddle with the technical settings. And therefore, it seems like the optimal strategy is to just create the simplest creative workflow with the least amount of friction in order for your desired outcome. So, like for example, let us say that with coffee, right? I like the idea of just like brewing a strong cup of coffee the night prior and just keeping it in the fridge, so the moment you wake up, you could just down the coffee and there's least activation energy to kind of get your day started. Or when it comes to working out, just hit the ground, do push-ups, dive bombers, kettlebell swings, chin-ups at home, rather than, I mean, depending on what your goals are. Like for me, my passion was powerlifting, but you know, now that I got a kid, a lot less time for that. Like I would, if I had the opportunity to be at the gym or be with Seneca, I'd rather be with Seneca like times a trillion, right? So, you know, the times where I have like, you know, quick 15 minutes to spare, right? I'll just do some quick heavy kettlebell swings at home with a 105-pound beast, a 48 kilogrammer. And it's nice because, you know, with the gym, you know, you gotta find parking, and then you gotta park your car, then you gotta wait for a squat rack, and you know, deal with annoying membership stuff. And so even with blogging and vlogging, I'm currently using the Lumix G9, the Leica Lumix, was this 14 mil lens, 12 mil lens, which is like a 24 full frame equivalent, and like a Rode video mic. It's nice because it's just like the ultimate set it and forget it settings, which just allows me to just stream my thoughts rather than deal with the annoyance of just setting up the technical issues and stuff like that. So I just shoot it as MP4, export it, and directly upload it. But anyways, so I think what we got to consider is think about your desired goal and work your way backwards. So for example, let us say that your desired outcome or goal is to be creative. And when I think about creativity, it's not about, you know, artistic ingenuity, but it's like the joy and the propensity to create and make things. And it seems like one of the best ways to do that is also just creating, just using the preset filters and whatnot. And I've also found that with art and creativity, it's not about presenting the world as it is, but it's more about documenting and recording things in ways that reality actually does not look like. So the reason I love black and white so much is that we don't see the world in black and white, and that's what makes it so beautiful and interesting. And so, yeah, like what I would recommend is create the simplest possible settings. Also with creativity and just making stuff, the reason I don't believe in collaboration is that when you focus too much on collaboration with creativity, you're always kind of waiting on somebody, which just adds more steps or more bottlenecks to the creative process. So, you know, think about creative mandrel bends, not crush bends. Gotta smoothing out the curves, less activation energy. Also something I've been thinking about with cars too, right? So especially now with COVID, like even going on a short road trip is actually very good for your you know, soul, right? Like good with creativity, good adventuring. So it's easier to just jump in a car and go on a quick day trip than to plan a flight and find a hotel and stuff like that. And this is one thing I do find, which is interesting, because you know, I'm currently in Southern California, just chilling at Cindy's mom's house, and you know, we're just doing a quick trip to San Diego for the weekend. And I was thinking, I'm like, man, you know, it would suck if we had an electric car. You had to deal with the range anxiety, or you gotta find a hotel or Airbnb with a charger. You gotta plan your life around the Tesla superchargers. So even though I'm a huge Elon Musk fanboy, I'm actually not that interested in buying a Tesla or electric car, because it actually affords you a little bit less freedom and independence in your life, because you gotta plan your life around the whole charging thing. Whereas the irony is, like, you know, Cindy's mom's like a Ford Fusion. It's actually kind of cool. It's like a small engine. It's like a 1.5 liter with a small turbocharger. So it's actually pretty good on gas. It's like really slow, but it gets the job done. And so, yeah, you could just live more randomly. I mean, I don't like gas. I think it's super stupid and wasteful, but it does offer a little bit more independence, freedom, and randomness to your schedule. Because, you know, at least in Southern California, there's like a gas station on every other block, whereas electric charging stations are still few and far in between. Even my friend, my good friend Christoph, is very successful, and he you know, he just had like, you know, a Toyota RAV4 was it the hybrid, right? And I'm like, wait, you know, here's like one of my very successful friends, you know, who works in Silicon Valley. I'm like, why don't you have a Tesla? He's like, yeah, I mean, first of all, Teslas are too expensive, which I appreciate him saying. And secondly, the electric charging time still take too long, because if you fill up a gas tank, it's at least 1,000 times, maybe more than 1,000 times faster than charging your car. Electric car, because the charging times are still a lot slower than just filling up your tank. Because if I fill up my gas tank from 0 to 100, it might take what, a minute, right? Whereas even with a Tesla supercharger, at fastest, what, an hour, 30 minutes, less than that? I'm not 100% sure, but so technically, theoretically, the best road trip car, or to go long distances without having to fill up your tank so much, is probably a hybrid car. So we're probably looking at, like, you know, the most boring car, right? Which is probably a Prius. Yeah, probably a Prius, or like the Lexus, what, the UH hybrid or UX hybrid or something like that. But anyways, hybrids are good because you have the convenience of gas, but you have the upside of having a kind of electric motor, so you could just go further without having to fill up as often. Because if you're in a good driving flow, you gotta stop and fill up your gas tank. It's quite kind of gets in your way. But anyways, least activation energy. The reason why I also love blogging too is that once you just have a thought, you could just kind of put it out there in the world, and you could always re-edit it later. So just with creativity and things in general, think about how you could stream out the workflow, simplify things in order to stream more of your creativity, more of your thoughts, and more of your soul. Peace out.